Hey, Lifesaver CPR, it's Sean Bisher. I am sorry I cannot join you guys today in person. I am out of town, so this is the best I could do. It was important for me to make this video for you guys, so you know I'm actually dedicated, because I know the last 3 or 4 meetings we had, I've been other places. I love Lifesaver CPR. I love it so much that even for this video, I even wore my t-shirt. Ooh, nice. So anyway, I am doing this impromptu video to join your grease board session today and throw out my ideas. I thought about the idea of just writing them down and giving them to one of you guys to just read off at the meeting, but I think that would just kind of lose the energy of kind of the ideas that I have for this meeting. Anyone could read off and dictate what I wrote down. So I just kind of wanted to have this video to kind of extrapolate and really bang out some cool ideas for this video here. So I divided my 10 ideas. I've actually got a little more than 10, but it'll be okay. I divided them into kind of 2 different things here. I did the main event is kind of what I'm calling it, and then the road show is the other part of this. So the main event is kind of the big thing we're going up to here, where we did this before, where we had a large amount of people go on one day and learn hands-only CPR. The roadshow idea is the idea of where we're going to take Lifesaver CPR on the road and teach people at different venues and events. But for the sake of this purpose, I'm going to do the main event first here. And so for starters, with the main event idea that we're going to have, I really like the Fort Zumwalt East location. And it ties into my second idea here, which is the Apple Store approach. Tim Bobbitt was kind of was the first guy who kind of came up with Lifesaver, brought me aboard, and we really kind of ran with it. And I wasn't really an Apple guy. I've got a MacBook, but that's about it. And so he took me to an Apple Store with him and showed me how they do business. For those of you who haven't gone, you go into an Apple Store and there's a guy or a girl who meets you right there at the front door and kind of welcomes you to the store, and then they immediately kind of chaperone you to the idea, the area, the place that you need there at the Apple Store. And we kind of incorporated that at Lifesaver, where when people walked in the front door, there was a group of people with Lifesaver CPR t-shirts just waiting for you there to escort you into the event. Hey, how's it going? What brought you to the event? How did you hear about us? Just kind of feeling out their pulse as to why they're there. Ha! Feeling out their pulse. See what I did there? Because it's Lifesaver. Anyway, I'll spare you the bad jokes. Anyway, I like that idea. There's a perfect flow to how we worked our event. People would come in the front door, they would go down the hall with their chaperone, they would get handed off to someone else who would then guide them into the gymnasium where we had the event. That person would keep walking them right to their open CPR trainer. There were just people waiting inside the gymnasium on a mat with an AED and a mannequin, and as soon there was no alone time. As soon as you walked in the doors of Fort Zumwalt East High School, you were escorted straight over all the way back through to where the main event is, and you get your CPR training, so on and so forth. As soon as you were done learning your CPR, your trainer, if I were teaching someone, I would just kind of look up and I'd have someone else escort them back to where at our event we did like choking relief and, oh yeah, the Heimlich maneuver. We did other things. But either way, my point is there should always be someone Lifesaver related escorting you from the front door that you walk in all the way to the back door when you leave. There should always be someone. That someone doesn't have to be a paramedic. It doesn't have to be a SCAD employee. My mom was a volunteer last year, and she walked people from the front door to where people were doing CPR. So that ties into my next thing. We need to have huge, huge involvement. If we're going to incorporate thousands and thousands of people to come to these events and learn our CPR in a day or a 2-day program like this, we need tons of help. We need help internally from our paramedics and our support staff, and we also need help from our outside folks, like my mom, your wife, husband, whatever. We need help from other people. They don't have to be paramedic CPR experts. We'll let our paramedic CPR gurus handle that and let that be their zone. That's their go-to. But for walking someone from point A to point B, we don't necessarily need a paramedic. We need structured involvement too, because we need people to know exactly what their job is. This is a huge undertaking, and we've got so many awesome ideas going around that we need people dedicated exactly to what they're supposed to do. So if that means we're going to assign Joe Blow to just rounding up people to come to this in the Wentzville area, that needs to be his only focus and concern, because the minute we start stepping out of our assignments and roles, the communication breaks down. That we have to have some absolute structure behind this, and that's for roadshow and for the main event. We have to have people that know exactly what their role is and live up to it, and no more and no less. Continue on here with our structure involvement, we're going to need people to go out and target a specific audience. So who is that audience going to be? Well, it's going to be churches, it's going to be youth groups, it's going to be sports, high schools. I know when we did this before, we went to every church in St. Charles County, and I don't know if you know this, but there are so many churches in St. Charles County, it's mind-boggling. But we broke them up into different sectors in the county and everything, and we had each person manage their own church. And we went there and we went to their leadership of the church and said, listen, here's the event, here's what we're doing, it's free. We would love for you guys to come out as a whole and represent your church and learn this skill, and then you can take this back to your church. We can do the same exact thing with youth sports, try and get coaches certified. The possibilities are endless as far as going to Lindenwood and talking to their quilting club and saying, hey, quilting club, we want you guys to come out to our event. That ties into my next thing. We need to have sign-up times and slots for the ebbs and flows. When we first open up the doors to our event at 8 a.m., people are not going to be beating down the doors to come learn CPR. It's just kind of how it's going to go. Later on the day, though, at 11, noon, 1 o'clock, that's when we start hitting it, and we need to be prepared for when these churches that we've gone and met with, we need to have these big groups sign up for time slots, and we can go to First Baptist on the Rock of the Church of the God and tell them, hey, we need you to sign up and come and represent your church. How about you guys sign up and come at 1 o'clock after your service, or either way, we need to have these folks come, and we need to be able to prepare for these ebbs and flows, so we can have more volunteers when we need them, less when we don't. Because this is a huge visual thing. There's a lot of aesthetics that come with this. When people walk in and see a huge gymnasium with only 3 people learning CPR, we need to learn how to manage that. We've got to be able to move our resources up when we need them. We need all hands on deck, when we get huge groups in, and we need to pull people back when we don't have that many people. So all these ideas kind of tie in. I want to target these groups. I want to try and get them signed up for their own time to make them feel like we're giving them kind of individual attention and teaching them this skill. I want to be able to have people at the event, as far as volunteers, that we need. We don't need 1 million people to start off the event, but in the middle we're going to need a lot of people, and at the end we probably don't need as many people. But we need to try and target these groups, bring them in, and cater to them as far as having people and personnel and everything else to kind of rock and roll with them and get them in and out of this event. Let's see, group sign-up slots, volunteers. Oh, as far as the sign-up slots, too, we need to probably incorporate something like that for our volunteers that are going to be there. We need to have kind of like shift work that's going to go along with this. I think that's probably something we've already thought about. It's kind of a given, but I want to throw it out there. It's definitely important that people can kind of commit to a certain time. It's the first half of the day, is the second half of the day, whatever. So time slots not only for the public to come and sign up, but time slots for us, too, for the volunteers. Be flexible is kind of one of the things I want to talk about. We can't really get too hung up on the idea of, oh my God, at this point in time we expected 400 people and we're only at 150. We got to be flexible with this sort of thing, because there are a lot of things that are going to be out of our control as far as like weather that day. I remember at the last meeting people were talking about weather and stuff. We just have to be flexible with this, and we have to stay positive. That really takes me to my last point for the main event. Maybe some media attention too is in order to draw people into this. We can go door to door and we can do as much as we can, but a lot of people watch TV in the mornings and stuff, that we can try and do like the morning shows and stuff. We probably want to try and get some media attention before, the day of, leading up to it, and definitely when we're at the event, try and have some news there to help kind of broadcast and let the people know we're doing this. So So that kind of takes care of my ideas for the main event. Yeah, let me move on here to kind of the roadshow idea. The roadshow is our idea that we're going to take Lifesaver CPR and we're going to take it out to the people. We're going to bring it to the people by going to, we do lots of different festivals. Like there's the Festival of Little Hills. I know there's like the county fair, stuff like that. We want to have like a booth and like a setup to where we can take Lifesaver CPR on the road and go to where the masses are, because the problem we have with our main event is we've got to try and draw people into us, and there are certain challenges that are brought with that. We're in our infant stages here of Lifesaver CPR, so it's hard to really get people to come and see what we're all about. When we take this on the road, we're going to take this to where we know masses of people are already going to be, and so it's an awesome thing for us to set up our own little area and teach people Lifesaver CPR. Hands-only CPR takes no time for us to teach. To drop us right in the middle of the Festival of Little Hills is an awesome idea, and I'm really excited about doing something like that. But it requires some different things. Lifesaver CPR is something we want to use here for the St. Charles County Ambulance District to really kind of put our stamp on who we are. Back when we were doing the Proposition E outings, a lot of our folks in the community were kind of confused. They would think, well, I already voted for a tax increase, and we're like, no, you voted for your fire department. And I think Lifesaver CPR is going to be a really amazing way for us to really solidify who the St. Charles County Ambulance District is. This is unreal PR for us to teach someone a skill that we can later show. The ambulance district taught John Smith CPR. He did CPR on his cousin who passed out at a barbecue. Turned out he was in cardiac arrest, and he saved his life when paramedics came because of the CPR he taught. What better PR can we give than teaching someone a really simple skill and having them save a life? So we go and we do these events. I really would like the idea of certifying someone. So people are always hung up when we do Lifesaver on, well, am I going to get a card? Is this recognized? And I want to get this recognized, at least in our county. I want to label people as a certified St. Charles County Lifesaver, whatever name we want to make it. But I think that's really important if we give someone like a name or a title to it. And we take this to businesses and say, hey, listen, we want you to put up in your windows that you have employees who are Lifesaver trained. We need to make this a thing for us to really get the public involved and recognize who we are. If we print off some cheap little card and give it to these people that say they're, a lifesaver or whatever, we can keep track of numbers of how many people we've certified, names and everything, and really kind of rock and roll with a county-wide approach at hands-only CPR. People will eventually need something to say that they did this. It's not going to be the same as the American Heart Association, but I'd kind of like to rival the American Heart Association. I kind of want them to be almost afraid of what we do and kind of get nosy into what St. Charles County Ambulance District is doing with their Lifesaver CPR. People need something to hold in their wallet, in their purse, that they can take to other businesses when they apply for jobs and say, I'm CPR, hands-only CPR certified. And I want that to mean something to these businesses, to these other churches and everything. I want people to see what we give them means something. I want it to have a lot of value. So for it to have value, when people perform CPR, like the barbecue example I just gave, we need to PR that like crazy. We need to say that we had this guy come to our event who learned CPR and saved a life. We need to really pump that out to the public. We've got a lot of really great participation as it is with our who are from our cardiac arrest survivors. And we kind of tout them around at our different events and celebrate that they were saved by CPR. And I'd like to do the same thing, but just kind of the other side of the coin now, that we want to have people who have performed CPR as a lay rescuer. We want to tout them to the public and really show them off and kind of really make Lifesaver take off from that aspect. What else? I'm really trying to stay organized here. I don't know if I am. So kind of bear with me. I talked about us kind of putting our SCAD stamp on it so I can cross that off. I do think that's really important, that we need to separate ourselves from the fire departments and really recognize we are the St. Charles County Ambulance District and we are a separate entity. The certification thing, I really, really would like to hammer that. so we can have different businesses, organizations, groups of people recognize that being a certified Lifesaver hands-only CPR participant means something. I really want that to carry a lot of weight in our county and people recognize it. In the same regard, when we go out and we do these road shows, I think it's really important for us to have our own stuff. What is our own stuff? Well, we need our own AED trainers. We need our own mannequins. We need our own tents and stuff. It sounds like we're really going to be pretty aggressive trying to get some funding, some grant money to purchase these things. I think it's really important that we have our own things to do this stuff, that we don't have to rely on other people and other companies and organizations to borrow and rent and loan these sort of things out. We need our own stuff, and we need to spend the money on having our own stuff so we can take care of our own things. We know where our stuff is at all times. We don't have to scramble to look for different things. I like that it'll be uniform, having all the same looking mannequins, all the same looking AEDs. Just from an aesthetic standpoint, I think it just looks more professional. So we need our own stuff. I'd really like to invest some money in doing that. In the same regard, and this is kind of one of my more grandiose ideas, I want us a really badass truck and trailer that we can take to these events. And I'm not talking some used, lawnmower trailer from some lawn company. I want something brand new that we can customize and make to put people in and out on a hot day, that's maybe air conditioned. It has storage inside. It's got, maybe like 2 doors to it. One of the things I kind of think about and envision in my head, not quite an 18-wheeler, that's pretty big, but something that would kind of rival it, to where we can have people come through the back door of something, kind of again like the Apple Store approach, come through an entrance, learn their skill, shake someone's hand at the back door, and leave, and they're out. So we gotta have something pretty beefy, because we gotta have room in there for shelves. I really wouldn't mind the idea of having 2 of these, one specifically just for our equipment and storage of it all, and then the other for the event, having people come in. This thing needs to be wired for sound, needs to have some TVs. Like, I want to spend some money on this thing. I think it would be really cool. I think it would draw people in when we take this monster truck, not monster truck, but a huge, visually appealing trailer. That's what's going to draw people in. I just recently was at the motocross event down at the Dome, and so these professional dirt bike guys, they've got these unreal setups where it's basically a mechanic shop on wheels in these trucks, and something like that is kind of what I'm looking for. We are mechanics in fixing people, and I think it would be really cool to have our own mechanic workshop on wheels with just this unreal badass truck. It's going to have, the wrapping all over it. It says Lifesaver CPR, that when people see this machine, this awesome thing, they're just drawn to coming up and seeing what it's all about. The last thing I have for this is that for the roadshow idea, this is going to be a marathon, not a race. We have to really take our time and get our finances in order to buy these really cool things. This is something we're going to do year after year after year, and this is going to be a prolonged thing. We've got to be ready for the long haul here, and we can't expect to have 10,000 people certified in CPR by the end of this year. I honestly think that's unrealistic. Maybe by the end of next year we can have numbers like that. I really want to pump this out to the public, so stay aboard. Let's work really hard at doing something like this. This is a long-term endeavor we're going to tackle here. I'm really excited about it, and I hope you guys are too. I'll be back in town here real soon, so I look forward to our next meeting where we can talk about all these ideas I just threw out at you guys. So really happy to be a part of it, and I hope you guys are too. Enjoy the rest of the meeting, and I hope to see you guys soon.